is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Justified, Season 5, Episode 1, A Murder of Crows. In this episode, everybody is killing everybody else. There's like one person left alive at the end of this episode in all of Kentucky. Welcome to Unspoiled.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul, God get at you, boy. You try to go, God fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some?
Yeah, fun fact, this episode has the highest death count of at least any season premiere. There's 9 different people die in this episode.
I felt like it had to. Like, I'm totally unsurprised by that because I could not get over how many fucking people died. I just was like, I kept thinking that, okay, that's the big kill for this episode. And then they were like, no, we're not done. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they are changing the game.
I'm like totally okay. Like, I thought this was a great episode, and it sure as fuck kept me on my toes since they decided they were just going to do away with everybody. But it did feel a little bit different than the show has in the past because of how hard they went right away.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, this has to be the episode that spends the most amount of time outside of Kentucky.
Oh yeah, that too, right? Yeah, we went to Detroit. Like, I was not expecting that. Not one bit.
What did you think of their version of Detroit?
I don't know what to think because I've never been to Detroit.
Neither.
Got nothing to like base it on. It feels a little harsh.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're basically like, in this abandoned building that seems to be a real bad idea. And it feels like, it's all black guys working for the white dudes.
Yeah, yep.
And I'm like, that may very well be the way it is. Like, I don't know, but it does kind of make me go, okay. It just gives me pause, is I guess the way to say that. It doesn't like upset me necessarily, but it makes me stop and kind of wonder.
That's kind of, we talked in earlier seasons when the show was less good about my feelings about their depictions of any black character.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been very good about it for a long time, I think. But this brought it right back to like, really? That's Detroit? I don't know. Something about it just makes me not comfortable.
Yeah, I see that.
But again, just like you, I have no experience in Detroit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is accurate. I know there's a lot of abandoned buildings in Detroit. I know there's a lot of crime and a lot of poverty. So maybe.
Right.
But I still side-eye it a little bit.
Yeah, that's about it. But other than that, I thought I really liked this episode. Like, it just, like I said, it kept me guessing, it kept me surprised, and also Lee Paxton's dead, so thumbs up to that. Because fuck that guy.
Yeah, he got what he deserved.
Oh, he sure did. Like, I don't know. I like the fact that she says, I'll take care of you, because I assume she's talking about his corpse since she is an Undertaker's assistant. But there is, I guess, the very, very slim possibility that he's not actually dead. I think he's dead.
Yeah, we don't actually see that he is dead, but yeah, we did just hear about how his new wife is good about prepping all the bodies, and
right.
She did just tacitly agree to take $100,000 to pretend Boyd was never there.
Oh my God. I love that Boyd lied and said 100,000 instead of 300. I was wondering if she was going to have heard him say 300 and was going to call him out and be like, listen, bastard, I fucking know. Don't you mess with me and try and undersell. But, yeah, I was pretty happy that he lied and that she totally fell for it. Like, I don't know why I'm happy about it. Like, it shouldn't matter, but it kind of, even though it's not really her fault that this guy is terrible, she's also kind of complicit.
Mm-hmm.
So complicit in him being terrible. I don't know how much she knows. So just her association with him, I'm just like, yeah, fuck that lady too,
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. It's sort of Melania Trump thing a little bit of like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I know you're not doing these things actively, but you're still married to this dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So again, she is side-eye. Side-eye.
Yeah. Indeed.
So, we started at the end, but let's jump all the way to the beginning on this.
Actually, we have to jump all the way to the very beginning. Hi, I'm Natasha.
Oh, that beginning. Hi, I'm Alan.
Right? Just like, oh, right, that part.
And actually, we probably really ought to have done that much earlier because this is a brand new season of Justified, and it's really not a brand new take on the show, but they, like we said, kind of wiped the slate clean in a lot of ways, where this is definitely a different feeling right off the bat from season 4. And yeah, so this is actually maybe not a bad jumping on point for people if they don't want to start all the way back at the beginning.
Right.
So yeah, I am the spoiled one here. I have watched all of Justified and love it dearly. And Natasha is seeing it for the very first time, one episode at a time.
Dun, dun, dun. That's
today's
my I'm unspoiled and a special unicorn sound.
Noted. Well, I'm building the unspoiled soundboard, so I'll make sure that.
Can we add some chimes next time? I would like that. A little bit of xylophone, but don't go too heavy on it.
How about flugelhorn?
I really like a little synthesizer to just pump it up in the back. Yeah. Anyway, now that half our listeners have shut off their iPhones and gone, never mind.
And the other half are dancing in the aisles. You know it.
In the aisles?
I listen to a lot of my podcasts at work, so I assume they are too.
Okay, right on.
Maybe the grocery store. I don't know. Anyway, this episode is season 5, episode 1, A Murder of Crows. Clever.
That is such a good name. Like, seriously, I know,
Seriously.
like, I just have to appreciate a good title when I can.
No, I never shy away from a pun, and that's one of the punniest.
Indeed. So
it was written by Graham Yost and Fred Golan. Graham Yost created Justified, needs no introduction. This is Fred Golan's 8th episode. This is his second season premiere that he's written. And it was directed by Michael Dinner. This is the 6th episode he directed, and his other 5 were the pilot for the whole series, the first episode of the regular first season, the finale of season 2, the season premiere of season 3, and the season premiere of season 4. So clearly this guy is their number one. Let's get this started off right.
Yeah, apparently. Damn.
Yeah.
Man, that's fun. You get to be like this. You get to pull the trigger to start the race, but then you don't have to worry about finishing it.
Right.
I love it.
It must be nice to be like the guy about something. Like we need this done right. We're gonna go to this guy. We go to dinner.
And he's like, it's sort of like working the opening shift where you can like come in and everything's all clean and ready to go, and you just like start, and then you just leave the mess for somebody else in the night shift, and you just don't have to worry about it. That's the best case scenario with that kind of thing. Good job, dude. Way to nail this one. Anyway.
So this episode opens up with no previously ons. We go immediately into a courtroom where we are reintroduced to Dewey Crow.
I was not like, why is this guy back? You know, not really like mad about it, but just like, what? Forgot all about this asshole.
It's been a while.
Sure.
And it turns out, he's been pursuing his options after everything that's happened to him in the first 3 seasons of the show. We see him in court with Raylan on the stand being questioned about Raylan's repeated abuse of Dewey throughout the series.
Mm-hmm. Which, I gotta say, Raylan took it a little too far this episode.
Maybe.
Like, you can beat the hell out of a guy, but don't shoot his pool. That's just petty. Like,
His
what are you
brand
doing? Yeah, he's just trying to have a nice time. Bet it's hot as balls down there.
Yeah, seriously.
What? It just seems very petty. It's not a good look, Raylan. Come on.
Oh, I think it's completely petty, but I just think he enjoys fucking with Dewey.
Of course, but like, why? It's punching down. Like, find somebody to punch that's like, you know what I mean? It's funny. It's funny here and there when Dewey says something really obtuse, but when it's just, you just don't like his face. Like, get a life. Anyway.
But yeah, so Raylan gets questioned about all this stuff, which he denies absolutely none of, including some things he apparently forgot that he wrote. And the judge calls in the lawyers, and they have a little sidebar, or whatever you call it, where Dewey's lawyer says, like, I'm on the verge of filing a class action lawsuit against the entire Marshal Service.
Yeah. I mean...
And so, not that she doesn't have a case.
Exactly, right? Like...
And so they had previously offered Dewey $20,000 to make all this go away, which he rejected. And so now they're changing it to $300,000.
Yo.
And Dewey, being the most literal person on the planet,
Oh my God.
assumes he's being offered $300.
Can we just discuss briefly the look on the judge's face when he realizes that he thinks it's only $300? Like, he takes this pause and just puts his face in his hands and then just, like, mutters, 300,000, you nitwit. And he can't even speak. He sits down all slow.
Oh, yeah, it goes... Did it go slow? Because I thought that went into slow motion. But he's clearly much happier about 300.
I'm looking at it right now. I can't tell if it's slow motion or if he's just reacting really slowly. Oh, I don't know. I wonder which one it is. Maybe it is slow motion.
Yeah, I always assumed it was slow motion. I think it's even funnier if he's just acting really slow.
Right.
But yeah, so Dewey Crow is a rich, rich man.
Indeed.
We go away from court to the jailhouse, where we see Ava for our first and only time this episode, who is there with Boyd and their lawyer, the Wild Man.
Yeah, this lawyer. Yo. This...
Right?
He needs a haircut.
What an oddball.
I just don't, like... Yeah, all right, sure. Like, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
And, there we find a little bit about Ava's case, and she's being charged with evidence tampering, obstruction, and desecration of a corpse, which was Delroy. And Boyd assures Ava he's going to take care of everything so they can resume their life together. And he tells her most of them, he's got it. He knows exactly how he's going to get at them. But the judge is a wild card. If it is Judge Bishop who gets the case, he may need to go and threaten the man's family.
Yeah.
But he take care of her.
He's as honest as they come. I might have to threaten his family, but I'm going to do whatever I got to do. And she's unaware at this point that he does not have a family to threaten. Oops. My bad.
Oh, and also, the lawyer has to put on gigantic headphones and an MP3 player
and listen
while
to
they talk.
Puccini or some opera is going on, and it's pretty great.
It is. I wonder if that's a thing that lawyers do. Like, if not, it feels like it should be, especially if you're a defense lawyer for scummy people.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm not really clear on it because, well, I guess, okay, because I'm thinking, the client confidentiality, but he's talking about potentially going and threatening people. So I guess that confidentiality wouldn't apply when you're like, intent to do harm is kind of where the loophole is on that. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think in general, the lawyer can't know about how you're going to rig the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you're a criminal lawyer, if you're Maurice Levy from The Wire.
That's what I'm thinking, right?
Like, this is like a thing I carry with me because it makes all the sense in the world if you really want to make sure that you're not being overheard.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Agreed.
So after jail, we go to the Harlem Crime Bridge, and we have Boyd and Jimmy who are getting their dope shipment from Detroit. Okay,
this is the moment, right, where I'm just like, okay, the body count begins.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it turns out that they are being ripped off. The guys try to get Boyd to hand over the money without seeing anything because this is the way this works, and is this your first rodeo? And Boyd is absolutely not parting with that briefcase until he has his dope.
He is unimpressed, gentlemen.
Yes. And they do not scare him in the slightest because, unbeknownst to them, there is a sniper on Boyd's side of the bridge who has no problem making himself known once the guns come out.
OMG. I was not ready for it. I would like to know who this dude is also, because we didn't see this member of his team. He's like brand new, and I don't feel like we get an intro, or do we even know his name?
His name is Carl, but I only know that because of the script.
Okay.
I don't know that we actually get his name. Yeah. So I do think he is brand new, but he's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So they take out the first guy with like a hit to the shoulder, and then they take out the main guy with a shot in the head, and then a second shot with the guy they just took down.
They take out the main guy after asking the name of the dude in the truck.
Yes, they confirm that there is someone in the truck waiting to ambush them.
And that was the one that I just went, oh, because the sniper, while a shock, isn't totally unexpected because it's not his first rodeo. So, okay. Yeah. But when he says, what's his name, Donnie? Bam. Holy shit. Like, that's just so out of nowhere. And it feels so unnecessary. Like, it is necessary when I stop and really think it through. Like, what else was he going to do? But it hadn't quite, like, my brain hadn't caught up yet. So I was thinking that he was going to use this guy to get Donnie to open the door or something, which as we see, it might have been smarter to do that and kill him a second later, because then he gets his ear shot off.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I get the feeling that this is, Boyd is clearly, he's had a bad day.
Yeah.
So
right?
that makes him a whole lot more amenable to just shooting dudes.
Oh, and he just misses dying. Like, it's 6 inches and it was over.
Yeah, they call out to the guy in the truck, open that about 3-4 inches and throw your weapon out there, and then we will do business. And that doesn't go as planned. Yeah, the shot comes right out, and we never really get a look at Boyd's ear, but he spends the rest of the episode with it all bandaged up.
And fucking Jimmy. Boyd, he shot your ear.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, this kid.
Yeah. But yeah, and the other thing I wonder, and I don't think the dialogue really tells us, I wonder if Boyd is this way on this drop because they haven't been getting the stuff that they were promised. Because it looks like the connection's totally dried up.
Yeah, I guess that's... So you think it's like an ongoing thing that they've had to deal with.
Yeah, so this might have been, at the end of last season, Duffy and Boyd are sitting by the bar, and Duffy's telling them we are about to be very wealthy men. And clearly this has not worked out. It doesn't look like Boyd is any better off than he was last time we saw him. And we didn't mention it, but we learned that time has gone by in between the last time, we watched the show.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't really like stop it because it feels in a lot of ways like we just picked up where we left off. But yeah, you're right.
We wind up being able to take down these 3 guys. I did also, by the way, I just took a real quick look online, and this is the first appearance of Carl. So we have not seen him before.
Okay.
Even his background character or anything. But Boyd manages to get his ear shot in the process and spends the rest of the episode with everything looking very, very conspicuous, covered in white medical tape.
Oh my God.
So,
can he just be like here forever, please?
Yeah, good old Duffy. He gets a call from Boyd, who's very angry, and Duffy's hoping that Boyd is calling to talk about tennis, but no such luck.
I forgot about his weird tennis thing.
I love that he loves tennis.
It's such a lovely little weird character thing to put in, and it's just this side of creepy. You know what I mean? Like, he just misses, but it could be, and you just don't know.
Well, I think more often than not, I think he's talking about women's tennis a lot as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that just makes it a little bit like it could just be the sport of it. My grandparents loved women's basketball, but there's something about it that just, like you said, it's just this side of wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, Boyd is here to tell him that he needs to pack a bag because they are going to Detroit.
Yeah, I just, like, when he said that, I was just so taken aback because I kind of thought I knew where the episode was going to focus, which was on Ava and, you know, getting her out and the thing with the judge, and that we were going to have maybe some Crow stuff, but I wasn't even sure that we would go to them so much as just, like, see them. And by go to them, I just mean like Raylan going there, you know?
Sure.
So it was, everything just jumped off a lot faster and a lot deeper than I thought it would.
Yeah. Well, for 4 seasons, this show has been about Harlan and the people of Harlan and all like the personal family ties stuff in Harlan. And, you know, even last season, which focused on, you know, an outsider, was still this local legend in Harlan. And so for them to really just do almost the exact opposite, instead of just going deeper and deeper and deeper inside, to just decide, nope, we're going north, we're going south, we're going everywhere.
Yeah.
Is different. And it's a fun change. It's a fun change. And the for all the characters that they kill in this episode, I think they introduce a new person for every person that they kill off.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
This took me a long time to make notes for, because I'm like, oh, that's right, this guy shows up. Oh, that's right, I remember this. Oh, yeah, this person. Lots of guest stars, lots of new characters. It really expanded the cast.
That's so funny. That didn't really occur to me, but I guess you kind of had to go hard and kill a bunch of people if you were going to do this. So, yeah, okay.
So we go to our credits, we come back, and we are in South Florida, where we meet Dilly Crow, who is Dewey's cousin.
Can we talk about that name real quick? What?
Yeah.
I can't even come up with a name, like Dylan, maybe?
Dylan. I think they even say in the episode, I think it's Dylan.
But Dylan isn't, Dilly isn't shorter than Dylan. It's not, like, I know that nicknames exist that are the same length as the name itself, but I still don't get it.
Well, I think Dilly works in this because it takes him down a peg. You know, it's diminutive.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And poor Dilly, I feel like he's gotten beat up a lot in his life. Mostly by his brothers.
Yeah, well...
he also looks like a low-rent Abraham in The Walking Dead.
Oh my god, you're right. Oh my god, yeah, he's the Abraham that, like, some group of dude bros who were trying to do a spoof on YouTube would make.
Yeah.
If they had... yeah, that's totally him. Comic-Con
cosplay Abraham.
Yes. And you would be, like, a little unsure, like, Abraham? Yeah. And your voice would go up at the end. Anyway, sorry, guys. I'm a little cruel. We went to a con on Sunday, and some of these costumes. Oh, my God. I was in love.
That's one of my favorite things about going to cons. There are people, this is what they live for all year long. It's what they put their money towards, what they spend their free time doing is building these costumes.
Yeah, there was one woman who was like on stilts and covered in leaves. And I'm not sure what she was supposed to be because I asked Owen and he wasn't familiar with the character either. But it was just quite impressive because she's like walking around and, you know, the booths most of them, except for like the t-shirt towers, don't go up that high. So you just see this head bobbing around and you're like, what the fuck? And then you come around the corner and she's on stilts and it's just, anyway, aside, this is only the second con I've ever gone to. So I'm still somewhat new to the whole scene.
No, they're super fun. And you had on a super cute Snorlax dress.
Yes. Oh my God. It was so funny. I didn't expect it to be as much of a hit as it was. Because I just like put it together that morning when I was like, I really should wear something festive. I don't have a costume and I don't want to spend money, but I'll just cut up an old t-shirt and pin it to the front and be a Snorlax. And then it was very popular. So that was cool.
Yeah, it looked good.
Thank you. So anyway, low rent Abraham. I approve this message.
So we meet Dilly Crow, and we meet his Cuban partner in crime, Elvis Machado, and they are visiting a corrupt Coast Guard officer, and they are paying him off. Did you catch what their criminal enterprise is here?
It's sugar?
They're smuggling illegal sugar to sell it at below market value to candy companies.
Like, I really thought this was a euphemism for the longest time in this episode. And I was like, this is a weird euphemism because, you know, we have over here Boyd just going, give me the dope. And so I'm like, why do they keep like doing this when they're only talking to each other? Just call it what it is. And then finally I was like, oh, it is sugar. Okay. I feel like a dum-dum. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then that is a very, wow, drawing a total blank on the guy who created Raylan Gibbons and justified the whole deal. But Elmore Leonard, it's very much in keeping with the stuff that he would do, and especially like his short stories or whatever, just bizarre criminal activities.
Yeah, it's like the kind of things that you're like, I guess this must exist or probably exists, but like, why would you ever think of this?
Right.
I feel like this is the kind of thing that you'd have to troll, like info boards, like forums for cops or something, to be able to find just some weird, obscure kinds of crimes that people would do and just be like, yeah, let's go with that weird one, you know?
Right. Oh, definitely.
Anyway, but yeah.
So they are dropping off payment to this Coast Guard officer, Simon Lee, and they're short because Dilly stopped at the casinos, despite the fact he claims that they're fixed against white people.
Oh my God.
He stopped anyway and lost half the money.
This fucking guy.
Yeah.
Like, and this is what I'm talking about when you're like, you know, I bet he got beat up by so many people. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel bad for him in any way.
Yeah, I bet he deserved it just about every single time. Yeah. So they get into an argument because the money's short. And finally, the Coast Guard guy makes fun of Dilly's stutter. And that gets him shot dead.
Yo, I knew this was going to happen. But I didn't, like, I knew that some shit was going to go down because he was being so relentless and making fun of this guy. But the getting shot in the face totally startled me. It just, again, everything is escalating so fucking quickly in this episode. And the fact that the guy has no reaction to the gun being pulled on him because it happened so fast. I think that was part of what threw me off too. Because I like stopped and rewound it and was like, wait, because he just doesn't even register that this is happening. And for me, if I'm making fun of a person, even if I don't know that they have a gun, if they make a sudden movement, I'm going to have some kind of reaction. I might not necessarily like duck because I'm not living the kind of lifestyle where I need to be ducking, but this guy is. So wouldn't you think that somebody like reaches quickly for their pocket or I don't know what, that he would just at least kind of like flinch? But it seems like he has no idea that this is coming. So, yeah. Anyway, this is caught me so off guard.
Well, you know, and obviously Dilly is the least. I was going to call him the least stable of the crows. I don't know that that's true, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it does give you a feel for how this family operates.
Yeah.
That they are just so willing to pull a gun or a knife or a whatever at the slightest hint of something going wrong. So,
and I thought that they illustrated that really well when we go to the family and you see them like, throwing firecrackers and like jumping on them? Yeah. Like the kind of dumb shit that a guy like this would have had to grow up doing in order to have this kind of insane reaction to something. Because the kid's jumping on firecrackers and his uncle or whoever he is going, yeah, you flinched, you pussy. And like, yo, it's a fucking firecracker. That's, well, you know,
and
like
I laugh, but it's really not funny because these families are all over the place too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there was like every year at the 4th of July, there's a news story about somebody dying from doing something really fucking stupid with a firecracker.
Yeah.
There was one just last year in Florida where the guy fucking lit it on his head. And, oh my God, he's dead. Who would have thought? Like,
don't say.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, man.
So, anyway, yeah, I thought that they did a really good job establishing that we're going to make fun of you for every little thing and encourage overly violent, incredibly overdramatic behavior in response to it. And this makes complete sense in line with that. So yeah, it's well done show and also his fucking like tube socks that he's wearing, like all of these little details about this guy. He's just such a loser. Just don't wear tube socks with shorts, guys. That's all I ask. You know, wear tube socks if you're just wearing long pants, that's fine. But if you're about to put on a pair of shorts and you are wearing tube socks, go find somebody to slap you and have them do it like twice, one for each sock, because that's just not okay.
Reasonable request and a reasonable punishment.
I'm harsh but fair.
So we leave Florida for the moment, and we come back to the marshal's office back in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out Raylan has known associations with Dilly and Elvis, and so Art has agreed to loan him back to South Florida to help with the federal task force.
Mm-hmm.
And Raylan's not happy about it, but Art reminds him that, hey, he's going to get to go visit Winona and maybe see his baby daughter. And we find out Winona's had the baby.
Yeah, that was the only indicator that I had of how much time had passed here. Really, like I still didn't really like sense it the way that you were talking about until then, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're doing that. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's definitely the first real indicator. I don't know that I sensed it beforehand, but just the fact that there was a whole court case put into like motion and everything, but by now that we had not heard about before. But yeah, this is really the first time you go like, oh, okay, wow, all right, so it's been a couple of months at least.
Yeah, the court case is the kind of thing that like it could be. It was in progress and we just hadn't heard about it, you know, because there's so much stuff that happens in this show that until it's really relevant to our people, it's not on screen. So that gave me some indicator, but then I kind of like brushed it off and thought it was going to be just off screen stuff that had been happening. But
right.
Because he has been kind of busy.
Yes.
So
very true. But yeah, so Raylan's going to get to go to Miami, and Art tells him you got to see his daughter. It's very important to have that quality time when they're little, and Raylan still refuses to see this as a good thing.
True. As he does.
As he does. And what he decides to do before he goes is he is going to go visit the crow that he has on hand. So he goes and visits Audrey. Not Audrey, Audrey's, the bar. He is looking for Dewey, but first he finds Wade Messer tending bar.
Oh my God, this guy, I forgot all about him.
He looks like Clint Howard.
I do not know who that is.
He's Ron Howard's brother. He was in like the Ice Cream Man, the horror movie. He's been in a ton of stuff. You look him up, you'll know him instantly.
Okay.
He's always in like weird little bit part roles. Anyway,
Ice Cream Man, never heard of that one.
It's not worth going into. He sells ice cream from a truck that's got like eyeballs and fingers in it and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why that's the first thing that jumped to mind with Clint Howard, and he's been in so many freaking movies. But anyway,
it does sound memorable. I mean, I understand.
It was one of those movies at the video store that I stared at the box to the tape for months and months and months before finally breaking down and just going, I have to rent this movie.
Yeah, I get you.
So
yeah, he greets Raylan with a, can I get you a blowjob or something? Oh my God. And I love the look that Raylan gives him because it can be read and probably should be read as both, why would you fucking offer me that? And why would you make it sound like you're the one that's going to give it to me? And then he immediately, like, I'm thinking this, like, that could really be taken away. And he immediately is like, well, you know, I didn't mean me, of course. And I'm like, yeah, all right. It wasn't just me. The script even noticed.
And then he follows it right up with, yeah, so I got out of prison. Did you? Yeah, got out of prison.
Oh my God, this guy.
And it turns out that he was, they said that he was writing Dickie Bennett's Shirt Tales and wound up finding a way to get himself out of prison. This was all the stuff back in season 3 with Dickie's missing money and being abducted by the corrupt cops and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of all that, Wade somehow managed to get himself released.
Oh, Wade, what is your deal, dude? He had to have been like dropped on his head or something.
Seriously. But eventually he says he's looking for Audrey's new owner, who is in the back, and it is Dewey Crow, who has set up a giant rubber pool.
Bless his heart.
And he is frolicking with 2 naked hookers.
Frolicking is the perfect word. Thank you for that. That's just couldn't have said it better myself. He is frolicking, and it is delightful. Like,
Dewey at play.
I really do love this. You know, like, this is, and the kind of thing that like somebody like him would do with $300,000. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh, completely. So Raylan comes outside and ruins his good time.
Mm-hmm.
And Dewey won't talk until Raylan starts poking around and sees that Dewey has a gun, which he should not have as a convicted felon.
Yeah, and he not only has it, but he's like, yeah, I'll talk to you. Just hold on a minute while I get my robe. So I'm not sure if he was planning on pulling on Raylan, because I think he's smart enough to know not to do that at this point. But it doesn't look good to have asked for your robe and then have a gun in your pocket.
No, and Dewey is this entire time just
buck-ass naked.
Yes. Yeah. And along with the 2 hookers, who we get butt shots on both of them as they're climbing out of the pool. Mm-hmm. And then we get Dewey, just standing there.
A little bit of Dickie.
Over his privates. Yeah, just the saddest, most pathetic little naked man.
Oh, God. And he tries to deny that gun is his, and it has his fucking name engraved on it.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Well, I love his first response is, I ain't never seen that. That ain't even loaded.
And then, oh, it's a common name.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I forgot about that. And Dewey starts just going off on Raylan and says, I should get an apology from you. And Raylan apologizes.
He does, like, so quickly that...
Completely cuts him off. Completely takes the wind out of his sails. Yeah.
There was a moment... Okay, there's an ongoing thing between me and Owen where... He's like, do you love me? Yes. Do you think I'm a good person? Yes. Do you think I'm cool? No. And he asks me several times a day if I think he's cool. And I always say no. Except one time I could tell he was just asking me like on reflex. And I said yes. And he didn't notice that I said yes. And like moved on to the next part of like the conversation. And I was like, did you hear me? And he stopped and was like, wait, did you just say I was cool? And I was like, nope, totally didn't happen. He's like, you did, and I missed it. He was so mad at himself. So yeah, that's totally what I thought of with this. Well, you should apologize to me, and I'm sorry. What? Wait.
That's excellent. So after Raylan apologizes, Dewey does talk. He says he doesn't know anything about, he knows nothing about the Florida Crows. Says they are bad news.
Mm-hmm.
And so Raylan leaves, and he fires several rounds from the unloaded pistol into the side of the pool, which causes a rupture, and the whole thing just starts exploding all over the backyard of the bar.
You know, it didn't really occur to me the first time because I was like feeling like he was being really petty, but he had a gun. He's not supposed to. He said it wasn't loaded, and it was. You know what? All right, fine. I give you a pass on this.
Yeah, I said it's uncalled for, certainly, but I don't know that it's petty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is petty. Like, come on. Of course it's petty. That's not even up for debate. What are you saying? It's just like, okay. Is it the level of petty that I initially kind of assigned to it because I thought he was just being a dick? Not really.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
But yeah, I hadn't even like stopped to think about, you know, why the fact that he said that it wasn't loaded even, you know, initially, which Dewey, honestly, dude, what are you doing? Like, it's just, Dewey just has had such bad luck in general that you'd think he would start to be more cautious about stuff like this, you know? And no, he has not learned his lesson in any way.
I do not believe he knows the meaning of the word.
Nope.
So we go back down to Florida, and Raylan is greeted by his old partner down there.
Mm-hmm.
And he meets the guy he's going to be working with, Greg Sutter, who is David Koechner, of all people.
Yeah, right? Do you watch Community?
I don't watch Community. I've watched the first 3.5 seasons, maybe.
I'm sorry, guys. I totally knocked my microphone. I bet it was really loud. He is in one of the first seasons as an ex-lawyer that Jeff used to work with, who is in rehab for doing coke.
That's right.
And he plays a real, smarmy shitbag. And so it's weird to see him here. He's still smarmy, but he's, much more dignified and serious about his job, and it's just weird to see, you know?
Well, and he's one of Will Ferrell's, right-hand guys.
Right, yeah.
So it's just odd to see him here playing a relatively straight role.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, they are, but they get paired up. And they set out to find Daryl Crow, who is one of the known associates of Elvis and the brother of Dilly. Or I guess the cousin of Dilly. I don't know.
I thought it was
family
brother.
member of Dilly. I think it is brother. I think it is brother. My notes say cousin, but he's Dewey's cousin. So anyway. But Dilly's created a federal situation, more than likely, by murdering this Coast Guardsman.
Yep.
Then we go and we meet Daryl Crow, who is Michael Rappaport. Again, just guest star heaven this season. Or this episode. What?
And it's weird because I'm having a lot of cognitive dissonance with this guy because he plays a lovable, leading man, or not even leading man, but just kind of love interest on a few shows that I've seen. Is the most memorable being on Friends as Phoebe's boyfriend, who's the firefighter.
Oh, is that Michael Rappaport? Okay, yeah. I didn't know.
But he has been outed recently as being super conservative and pretty misogynistic. So I had kind of a crush on him because I'm totally into white boys, and it turns out that he's awful, and it was so disappointing to me. And yet I was still seeing him in roles where he was the likable guy. So when I saw this and he's this awful, violent redneck dude, I was like, okay, you know what? Thank you. I get to freely hate him now, and this feels great. So
that's really interesting. I've always seen him. I first knew him from Boston Public.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, played the tough-talking, no-nonsense, funny guy. And then I saw him in about half a dozen movies where he plays the tough-talking, no-nonsense, funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, he seems to have exactly one role that he can play.
Yeah.
But then he does this, which is it's sort of a similar role, except for instead of being really, really clearly from Boston, he's really, really sort of from Florida.
Yeah, he's from somewhere. Not Boston, anyway.
It's not a role that I'm used to seeing him in, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. It's definitely really? They went that direction with this character. Okay, I guess.
Yeah, and he's funny in a way that isn't meant to be. He's funny in a oh boy, this kind of guy. Kind of funny, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we meet Daryl, and we don't think we get a name until the end of the episode, but we meet Danny Crow as well, who is looks like a linebacker. And we meet Kendall Crow, who is the young boy. And Kendall and Danny are playing with firecrackers, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Daryl is being filled in by Dilly and Elvis about what happened, sort of.
Oh my God, what a fucking liar. I hate this guy so much.
Yeah. And they also tell him, oh yeah, we still have the body. Don't worry, we know exactly where it is. It's over here. And
guys.
And Daryl you see him start to realize this is going to be a big freaking problem.
Yep.
So he tells them they need to go find the Haitian.
Yeah, that one. When he says that, I'm like, oh shit. And then that did not turn out like I expected either. That was, who knew? But we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Because first we go all the way up north to Detroit, where we see Boyd, Jimmy, Duffy, and Mike. They meet up with the first level of enforcers.
Mm-hmm.
like, don't even. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I didn't even really know who they were going to visit because what are they doing in this horrible, burned out shell of a building?
Right? Like, that was my thought also. I was like, immediately thinking, this has got to be a setup, right? Like, there's no way. But it just turns out that it's a bad, everything's a bad scene right now.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. But yeah, they had to throw their licenses in a bucket that gets raised up through an old elevator shaft so they can look at the licenses. And they get frisked. And then eventually Boyd and Duffy are given the okay to go up, but just the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're told to start walking and don't stop until you run out of stairs.
Which is like, what a bummer, man. I hate stairs
Yes.
so much. Just like, how big is that building? I think that they said later how many floors it was.
Yeah, I think maybe 14 floors or something. I don't remember, but it's a big building.
I hope they're wearing their Fitbits.
And they're given random stuff to give them as well, which is just kind of like a grocery bag full of stuff. Anyway, back in Miami, Raylan and
Oh my God, I just realized that they were holding on to that stuff because they didn't want to walk up all those fucking stairs. That is hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I just didn't even like put that together. They were just like, yeah, we've been holding on to this because fuck those stairs. So thanks for also doing this for us. Appreciate it. All right, that's funny.
So back in Miami, Raylan and Sutter show up to meet Jean-Baptiste, and they get spied. We find out immediately Dilly and Elvis are sort of off in the distance watching through binoculars.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they meet Jean-Baptiste, the gator hunter. And it turns out he and Raylan have a history because Raylan got attacked by Jean-Baptiste's dog 10 years ago and missed a Tom Petty ZZ Top concert.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. Not really. It's fine.
So what did you think of Jean-Baptiste?
Okay, who is this guy? I'm looking it up right now. Because he looks wicked familiar.
Yeah, I don't know him, actually.
He intended to enroll in medical school and become a doctor, but he was immediately cast in his first television commercial after being approached by a director, is what it says under the little...
Yeah, that's for Elvis. That's Elvis, though. Not.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Emery Nolasco.
Okay, so let's see. I think that he was in... Oh, he was in Twilight.
Oh,
what?
Okay.
He was in X-Men First Class. He was in Crank. I am not like remembering him in any of these though. Like none of these are the thing that is making me go, what has he been in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm looking him up now myself, and I don't know. He was in Blacklist.
I feel like he was in Grimm. Something about him is giving me supernatural vibes. I'm looking back and I don't see that though. Maybe it's just Twilight, like that, or maybe
he
it's
was
X-Men?
Darwin. Okay, he was Darwin in X-Men First Class. Interesting. I never would have put that together.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
yeah.
that because he dies like really quickly.
Yes, he's the only cool one that they find, and they kill him immediately.
Yeah, thanks guys, good job.
Yeah, and apparently on House he was Dr. Jeffrey Big Love Cole.
Okay.
I just
no
you can't
comment.
see that name. Can't see that name and not say it out loud.
Oh, Laurent in Twilight. Yes. Okay, now I remember him. Yeah, that's why the supernatural vibes, because he plays a fucking badass vampire.
Okay.
That's
Which
funny.
I could see him doing in this role, despite this role not being more, couldn't be more different than a vampire, except for maybe Beaver Dream. But I could totally see him as a vampire.
It's kind of an odd thing because they give him like these really heavy dreads and everything. So he has such a very different look. But yeah, that's him. Okay, cool. It's just hard for me to focus when I know that I know someone from something, but I can't quite nail it down.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. Anyway, so yeah, this is all surprising. He just is like, yeah, let me get a bunch of alligators.
Yep, and Raylan asks if he's still poaching. He says, "No, I'm not poaching. I have a license and everything." So he is He is now a respectable businessman.
And he also just like low key eats marshmallows while he's working, which I guess is like bait, which is hilarious.
I'm not sure they're marshmallows, but yeah, he is.
What do you mean you're not sure they're marshmallows? There's a bag. They're hanging there.
Is that right? Are they definitely marshmallows?
Yeah, like he has the bag nailed to the pole, and he's just taking a bite out of them, and then like sometimes holding on to them, and sometimes throwing them in the water. He's got a whole bag of them.
Okay. Yeah. Well then,
maybe because they float and they're like cheap. I guess I could see. Maybe so.
Maybe so.
Sorry, anybody who hunts gators out there, you let me know.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to attract them, I guess.
And anyway. They're walking away, and the fucking thing like leaps up out of the water. Yeah. Oh my god, that's prehistoric shit, man. I don't like it. We should not be walking the earth with these things.
Yeah, we went in South Florida a few years ago. We got to go cruise the Everglades and see alligators or crocodiles, whichever one they were. I think they were crocodiles. No, they were alligators. Anyway, we got to see them, and they were like super close. We got to see more than I guess people normally see, is what we were told. Like they were just really active that day.
Okay.
So we got to see a bunch of them everywhere, like floating right by the boat and everything.
No
I
thanks.
I was so tempted to put my hand out. It was right next to me. I could have touched the back of it.
I wish you had, and that you lost your hand, and that I could taunt you about it for the rest of your life.
And they're very explicit about that when you start the tour. They're just like, these are going to be really, really close to you, and do not touch them. They do not want to be touched. They are not here for your entertainment. They are trying to live, so just leave them alone, and they will leave you alone. Just like every other animal.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we're just trying to live, man. Can I live?
Yeah. But yeah, so Jean-Baptiste tells them nothing. And they happen to mention, while they are standing next to him, that Dewey Crow is up in Kentucky and just had a bunch of money come into his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out, because he gives Jean-Baptiste information. Basically, it was like, you need to go tell Daryl that we're here.
Right.
And I wasn't entirely sure. I thought when I saw this that he wanted Jean-Baptiste to tell Daryl that, which is why he was dropping that information. But then apparently not, because it doesn't come up until the very end of the episode.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I didn't really
the way that they
stop
say
and think about that at all, even.
Yeah, I thought he was being intentional, but then it doesn't factor into the plot at all, and clearly Raylan doesn't want these guys in Kentucky, so yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just an oddly convenient conversation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Jean-Baptiste calls Daryl, and then they go to Detroit, where Duffy and Boyd reach the top floor of this crappy apartment building, and they enter an even crappier apartment.
This place is terrifying.
It feels very sort of Twin Peaks, with like random dude in a bloody butcher's outfit and like a room full of blow-up dolls, and
they keep saying that was last week.
Yeah, that was last week.
What is that about?
Yeah, super weird.
I just don't. There's so much about this. Like, this guy's watching some cartoon when they come in, and there's something like really surreal about this like tiny little, I hesitate to even use the word like civilization, but there's like this little kind of haven in the middle of this nightmare fuel building.
Yeah.
And they have gasoline for him, which I guess is for the chainsaw. Yeah. So that's fucked up. And then Butcher Guy and then he comes out and takes the chainsaw, and then the blow up doll thing, and there's like what, 10 of them?
It's a room. There are guys that are just sort of off in the distance, like kind of. It seems like they're just people like around the corner.
No. I mean the blow up dolls.
Oh, the blow up dolls. Oh yeah, there's a room full of them. Yeah, like literally like the factory burned down, and so they grabbed a bunch of them and threw them in the spare room or something.
I'm like looking at it. I have it on pause now, and I don't know what to make of this. Because there's all of these wigs too, which it looks like a bunch of them don't actually come with wigs. They just have like shiny fake hair, balded heads that are like drawn on, but they have wigs for these. What the fuck?
And I will say, that's been every blow up doll I've ever seen has had plastic hair.
Yeah, right. So like, I don't know.
So,
they special got these wigs for this. Okay, that's cool.
No,
I want to know what happened last week. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the show.
I do not understand blow up dolls at all. Like, that just looks like no fun whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are those real dolls which are supposed to like have more weight to them, and the skin is supposed to feel real, and it has real hair and whatever. And that, while I think it is an enormous waste of money and kind of sad, like, if that's your thing, all right, fine, sure, do what you want. But the blow up version just seems like, if you want what's that?
Literally just plastic.
And it's like, if you want a steak, but somebody's like, I have a can of Spam, like, that's not even on the same level. Like, just don't eat steak then. Just have chicken instead of Spam, you know? Just use your hand. Why would you? All right. Whatever. Maybe somebody's like, that's their kink. This is my fetish.
So we also see here that Picker is up here. And the reason they're in this horrible building is that this is where Sammy Tonin has ended up.
Oh my god.
Because he is in a dispute with the Canadian Mafia. Because, of course, Sammy Tonin gets taken down by the Canadian Mafia.
Like, is this a thing? I guess it's gotta be a thing.
I assume so. But, yeah, Sammy is in bad shape when we finally see him.
Yikes, buddy.
He looks like he hasn't slept in a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like, really... This whole thing was just all kinds of surprises. Because when they're trying to do the deal and he tells them that he doesn't have any of the dope because, what does he say? That Detroit's going down the tubes or something like that?
Yeah, something to that effect.
I thought that he was like just making an excuse. I didn't really think that this was actually legit at all. Like, it never even occurred to me that he was telling the truth. And I should have stopped to think about it because of fucking Tonin being the loser that he is. That's probably very likely that it's as bad as he's saying.
We talked at the end of last episode. We talked about how long do you think Sammy Tonin's empire will last now that he's the dude in charge. And you said, like, not very long.
Yeah. I just, I didn't expect to be proven so right. I kind of expected him to I think what surprised me is how bad it's been allowed to get before somebody makes a move to kill him. Because frankly, this is horrific. Like, the conditions that they're in, that they're using a chainsaw, like, the whole thing is so bad that the fact that he hasn't already been killed is shocking. You know, this is just, I'm fine with them holding it off because they want us to see it happen. And that was very well done, and I'm all about it, don't get me wrong. But it is just kind of like, wow, what the fuck took you guys so long, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Almost makes you pine for Harlan, right?
I mean, in some ways, like, this is like a horror movie. This is like Hostel.
Oh, totally.
You know?
And I feel like with the lighting and everything, I almost feel like that's what they were deliberately going for.
Yeah, probably.
The torture porn vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Sammy's in bad shape, and they get about a minute and a half of conversation with him before he is downgraded to worse shape. Because out of nowhere, Picker shoots him through the head.
Oh my God. And the way that this goes down, because Picker's like, well, do you want the money? And he's like, yeah, I want it. And he's like whining. He's like Luke Skywalker with his converters, like, oh, barn runners, and like, dude, what the fuck? And he's just like, so go get it. And he like practically stamps his foot. Like he purses his lips in this like petulant ass way. And I'm watching this like, how the fuck is he where he is? And how the fuck is Picker allowed to talk to him like this in front of associates? Like this whole thing is a hot mess. And then, he takes 2 steps forward and his fucking head explodes all over these two.
Mm-hmm.
And then Picker, paying 0 attention to these people that are now covered in brain matter, walks into the next room. 2 more shots. Thank you. Because now the dude's out of his misery and the chainsaw man is dead. So that's, thank you. Appreciate it.
World's a better place. Good job, Picker.
And then picks up the phone. Yeah, I put Doug out of his misery too. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I had to shoot the chainsaw guy. Sorry, shit happens. So apparently they were asking for the chainsaw guy, which
maybe
can't blame him for that, right? And then they still are. Okay, see you shortly. Hangs up. I'm gonna need that briefcase now. I'm like, oh my god.
All business. All business.
Oh my god. And there was when they first arrived and he asks, so what's in the briefcase? Is that the money? I didn't think that Boyd had really just walked into this fucking place with a briefcase full of money. I really didn't. So when he said, yeah, it is, I was disgusted with Boyd. I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this place is fucking Fallujah. Like, don't walk around with that. And I hoped against hope that he wasn't even telling the truth. That he was saying, oh, yeah, this is your money. And then he opens it and it's totally not. But no, later on, when he bashes his face with it, all the money falls out.
Yep.
Okay. Like, I just really didn't think that he was really going to walk in there with that. Come on, man. It just seems like such a bad idea.
Well, and speaking of that, I already have plenty of respect for Boyd and for Duffy, but super impressed with the way they were able to turn the tables on Picker and the other guy.
Right.
In like 5 seconds, where they're just standing there, like you said, drenched in blood and brains.
Mm-hmm.
And with a briefcase and I don't know, and they didn't have any guns, so Duffy managed to disarm the guy behind them, and Boyd manages to take down Picker with a briefcase. Yeah,
he bashes him in the face with the briefcase, and in that like brief moment of the guy being distracted, Duffy just turns around and whams him in the side of the head with his forearm, is how he does it. So it's just this like beautifully synchronized, like these guys really should have been working together for far longer than they have been. They think the same way, you know? And I fucking love, this doesn't even concern me. So what should you do? That is my favorite, and I may have to have a repeat similar in my series at some point. Because that is just, so what should you do? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Duffy is my favorite. Like, forever. I hope that he doesn't die on this show, because I want him to be the guy that, like, makes it to the end and get, the survivor, as he puts it. That's what I want.
I totally understand. The season has already sort of shown it has no compunction about changing things up.
Mm-hmm.
But Duffy's wily, so we'll see.
Wily. That's a good word. That is total. Like, he kind of looks like the Wile E. Coyote a little bit. He's got that salt and pepper thing going on.
Runs into walls a lot, thinking that they're tunnels.
Oh, you're the worst.
So, Duffy and Boyd managed to take control of the situation pretty expertly.
Mm-hmm.
And Picker winds up with a gun in his mouth.
Yeah, this is rough.
Yeah, and he explains that basically he agreed to sell everybody out. They were going to kill me, so I said, no, how about I just kill everyone for you? And if Boyd really wants to actually accomplish something in this mission, he needs to talk to the Canadians and Pickard take them there. And we'll get to those Canadians in a minute.
Like, I know that I kind of already was like, they work together so well and everything, and that's totally true, but also these fucking Detroit assholes keep thinking that they're going to get the drop on Boyd. Guys, he is not some fool. When will you learn?
They're simple country folk.
I kind of love how frequently they've been outsmarted by this, like, seemingly redneck hill person, as they're probably white trash, as Lee Paxton says later.
So before we meet the Canadians, we go to Raylan and Sutter sitting in a diner in Florida. And I just happen to have this paused at the moment, but at the restaurant menu outside is frog legs and alligator tail and breakfast sandwiches.
Oh my God.
It appears to be their entire menu.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll have a soda.
And they talk a little bit about their respective families. And then they get approached by Wendy Crow, who tells them that she is Daryl's lawyer as well as his sister. And Daryl is willing to play ball if the marshals are willing to tell a judge that he's cooperated with law enforcement and he has been fully rehabilitated. Get him off parole.
Yikes.
And they agree to it.
Yeah, I didn't think they would, honestly.
No, that's asking an awful lot. But they agree to it, and they sign off on a piece of paper. And then Daryl shows up, and he sort of gives them a, and they work out a plan, basically.
Yeah, which, well, we'll get to it. All right, sorry. I'm starting to get ahead of myself here. And they have to, eyeball the hell out of her, too. This actress is, she plays a woman who's having an affair with her boss in Last Holiday with Queen Latifah. That's where I remember her from.
That's an interesting poll.
Super specific, right? But yeah, it's such a, do you know this woman? No, but I'd like to. And then they stare at her as she bends over and reveals a little bit of a back tattoo.
Yeah.
Men.
Yep. We're awesome. So, but yeah, so they agree to this deal, and Daryl is going to turn in Elvis, and Raylan tells him that he'll be back behind bars tomorrow on a parole violation if he doesn't hold up his end of the bargain.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. This is a big, they're just really giving him a lot here. I just like I said, I just did not think this was going to go the way that it went. But yeah.
No, well, especially because, Raylan has associations with these people in the past. So it's so weird to me, given how much of a hard ass he is to everybody in Harlan, that he's willing to give all that much up to these people. Maybe because he just assumes he'll never have to deal with them again.
Probably,
so
right?
Kind of willing to promise them the moon and then just go when he gets what he wants. But
yeah, that's probably exactly it. Actually, that didn't occur to me.
And to his credit, I guess Daryl talks. I won't say he talks a good game, but he says all the right things. To just say, they frisk him at first. He goes I don't have a weapon. That would be a violation of my parole. And he's clearly the smartest of the male crows.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Not saying a whole lot, but there it is.
No, but it's something. So back in Detroit. Okay, now we have Boyd and Duffy in a diner, and they meet the Canadian gangsters, and they are Dave Foley and Will Sasso.
God, I could not stop laughing.
Just what?
Dave Foley? What? I just... all right. I'm not mad at it, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, and again, they're basically totally straight roles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a ridiculous scene. They're talking about Tim Hortons.
It is such a ridiculous scene. Like, this whole thing is ridiculous. You tell me that the season premiere of Justified, we're going to be having donuts with Canadian mafia in Detroit. And I'm going to fucking like, yeah, all right. You know, like, this is so... like, this whole thing feels like an SNL skit if there was just no punchline. So like 3/4 of SNL skits. Oh, hot takes.
Yeah, that was a fat pitch. There's no way I couldn't swing. But yeah, it's such a bizarre scene. But again, they're not playing funny characters, and it's not even like they're the funny characters. They're the straight character to the other funny characters. It's played entirely seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But
baffling.
Completely baffling. That's the right word. That's
like,
the right word.
Like I said with other stuff, I'm not mad at it. But I am sitting here as a viewer going, what the fuck is happening? Like, it just, I kept thinking either that I had missed something or that we were going to get like another bit of backstory. Like, I just kept thinking we can't be starting here because it jumped so far ahead and they did so much in such a short time that I almost had like whiplash, you know? Just
definitely.
How abruptly it all just went down. So,
normally when we do these episodes, we've been doing this long enough, you and I, that I can watch the episode and take notes in real time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, unless I want to grab a specific piece of dialogue. I'm pretty good about keeping up with everything. And this episode, I just had to like pause. I had to rewind. I had to make sure I was following because they do shove a lot into.
They sure do.
But so yeah, they meet over donuts with the Canadian gangsters, and it turns out that they want out because the idea behind organized crime is it's supposed to be organized, and instead there are chainsaws, and they agree to one final shipment, and then they're done.
Yeah.
So they take the money and go, and Picker just observes that you guys just lost your Canadian connection.
Oh, bummer.
So if they want to stay in the game, they need to look to Mexico. And hey, Picker happens to know people in Mexico.
And part of me wants to be like all suspicious of Picker. And the other part of me is like, you know what? There's no reason to be suspicious of Picker because this man is an open book. He is going to do the things that he needs to do. And that is like pretty much the extent of this guy. I don't think he does not strike me as a power hungry type. He doesn't want to be the guy that's like giving. He just wants to make a living doing the terrible shit that he does. And it's like this whole takedown was not a power grab. It was, I'm doing this to save my own life. And so he's pretty much what you see is what you get. And when he's not backed up against a wall, he does his job pretty damn well. So, you know what? All right, Picker's on this team in this weird impromptu kind of way. I'm all right with it.
Out of nowhere, he is apparently okay with that. Like you said, whatever's going to keep a paycheck in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So, back in Florida, Daryl and Wendy are having a bit of a showdown, and Wendy's pissed at Daryl for putting Dilly in a position where he can screw up this badly. And Daryl's pissed at Wendy because she used to be the person who did all these payoffs, but then she stopped because she decided to go get a real job and be a paralegal.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the authority with which she tells him, I'm a paralegal. And, not that that's not a respectable position, but she seems to equate that as like, basically, I am a lawyer. And it's not quite the same thing.
It's kind of like, the thing is that when you have something like this, doesn't somebody have to have a legit job in your family? Like,
right.
You need to keep your books at least looking like quasi plausible.
Well, if 4 seasons of Justified have taught me anything, it's that basically the answer to that question is no. Everybody can just live in the dirt. And
maybe in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's true. Not in the big city like
Yeah.
South Florida. But yeah, so they're pissed at each other, and they're trying to keep their voices down because they're talking about Dilly, who is 30
a
feet
giant
away,
child.
and a giant child. And when he gets a little bit closer to try and figure out what they're talking about, Elvis makes a move that we don't see immediately, but he saunters over to the car and gets inside for just a moment.
Yeah, I was watching this like, what is he doing? Like, of course I don't know what's happening here, but I'm just like trying to keep up, and I'm like, clearly something that I don't know about is happening here.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I kind of thought that he was going to get a gun and that he was just going to come and like shoot Dilly and his brother or something.
Oh yeah.
With the
definitely.
rate this fucking episode's going, like sure, why not?
Yep. Turns out Elvis is the big bad. Who knew?
Yeah. I'm a little
But,
bummed, honestly, that he like isn't going to be playing any more of a role, because I kind of liked his like frustration over everything. There was just something that like as a viewer, I'm like, yeah, dude, right?
Oh, definitely. Just being tied up with these dum-dums.
Exactly.
Is clearly not what he signed up for. Especially because Dilly originally wasn't the one doing all this stuff. If he was working with Wendy, then he was working with somebody with a much, better head on her shoulders.
Yeah.
And now he's reduced to this, taking orders from Michael Rappaport. But as soon as they go to look for him, Elvis is right there. He's like, hey, I'm here. Didn't go anywhere. And Daryl tells Elvis that he is out. The sugar scam is done. Sorry, bye. And Elvis demands that he get paid. And Daryl, after a bit of coaxing, agrees to it.
Yeah, like he's just gonna like let this guy go and not pay him. Like, are you high?
Yeah,
Dude, you need to do something. Like, this is not how this shit works.
Yeah.
I just don't like when you're doing the kind of work that these people are doing. The only thing that you have is your reputation. And if you get a rep for being the guy that doesn't pay and doesn't like keep his word on shit, then what? You're the guy nobody wants to work with. Like, this is some basic shit.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that Daryl is so used to just pushing around his family that the idea of somebody who isn't just going to do what he says 'cause
right
is foreign to him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, Elvis wants money. Eventually Daryl agrees to it. And then he goes with Wendy to the hotel where they're going to drop it off. They're going to collect the money, so he says, and drop it off for him tonight. And as soon as they're on their way, Daryl calls and tells the marshals what's going on. Now, after Wendy and Elvis leave, Daryl has to talk to Dilly. And Dilly is very confused about what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Because he knows he's screwed up. And he's just sort of sitting there looking back and forth between his brothers and just wondering, again, I think he's a little confused at this point because nobody has yelled at him yet.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of the same vibe that I also got. Was just like, well, when does the abuse start? Because I haven't had my daily dose today. So what's up?
Yeah. And then on Daryl's signal, Danny grabs Dilly real close and shoves a knife straight in his gut.
Yeah. And good?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, sort of.
It's one of those moments where I'm like, thinking about season 2 and like how much shit could have been avoided if we had just gotten rid of some of these dumb fucks right away.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I kind of am in sympathy with the sister who's just like, why did you even give him this job to do in the first place? Like, based on what we have seen of this dude, it is apparent that he isn't capable of handling this kind of thing. It's not like the kind of, well, we'll see how he does. You don't need to see how he does. It's pretty clear how he does.
Yeah.
So I kind of am, agreeing with her on that this is on them and that they should have known better. And
completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And I do like, and you can see on Daryl's face, how much this is not what he wanted to happen.
Yep.
But I really like Danny, who we know nothing about at this point at all, other than he likes to throw firecrackers at his little brother.
Mm-hmm.
You see him go through like a range of emotions.
Yeah.
In this, which I really just kind of appreciated.
Yeah, definitely. He's got some tears in his eyes and kind of like cups his brother's head to his shoulder for a minute and is like shaking. It is a really intense, sad moment. Like,
yeah,
it was for a character that I did not give any shits about. They still made me care about this moment, which is not an easy thing to do when you don't give a shit about the person who's actually dying. Yeah. So instead, they make me care a little bit about the person who's doing the killing, which is not the tact that's taken the most. And
it's a hard thing to do when it's not a character that we know.
Yeah, exactly.
And we had one other scene with him, and he was being needlessly, joyously cruel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, did you ever watch Deadwood? I think we had this conversation.
Yeah, it's only 2 seasons, so it's a show that I have on my list as wanting to cover at some point.
Yeah, okay. It's 3 seasons actually, but I will say no more.
Oh, it's 3 seasons. Okay, I've been that and this. I just have them wrong.
Yeah, well, it's also Timothy Oliphant as a marshal. So
is he in that too?
He's the main character. It's like the same character except he has a mustache.
Well, that's too bad. Well, all right, I'll allow it.
Yeah, no, Deadwood is absolutely something. Whether you covered it for Unspoiled or not, please check it out. It's a fantastic show that never got its due, unfortunately, but super worth it. And I will say no more because I was going to make a comparison. I won't
say no more, no more. No?
Okay. Nope, nothing.
You don't know that? You never saw Empire Records?
Oh, I did, but it's been 15 years, maybe.
Fine, forget it. God.
Sorry.
All the listeners are getting it. They know. I bet they don't.
Smart listeners. They're smart and handsome, and they impress me every episode more and more.
I like this.
So, Dilly gets stabbed to death because he's an idiot.
Yep.
Now, back in the car, we have Wendy and Elvis pretty without a lot of pomp and circumstance, just reveals like, hey, I have a gun, so keep driving until I tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
That night, Raylan and Sutter arrive at the motel, and they have more family chatter. And when they bust into the room is empty.
Yeah, I love his reaction. He just like deflates and just, well, shit. Oh, Raylan, never change, buddy. Actually, you should change. You really should work on that. But nevertheless, good moment.
So we go back to Wendy and Elvis, who are still driving. And they are headed to the marina. But Wendy, with doing some quick thinking, escaped from the car after she causes a giant traffic accident.
Yeah. This was not what I expected. Like, I know I've been saying that all episode, but I guess I kind of thought that there would be some kind of like showdown at the marina and that, she'd be hostage and there'd be this whole thing. And I was pleasantly surprised that we did not have to like sit through that.
Yeah.
Another lady being held hostage. Thanks, Joe. Right. Appreciate it.
So yeah, she manages to vanish and leaves Elvis on his own, still armed.
Mm-hmm.
But
still armed, extremely dangerous.
Still extremely dangerous. Thank you. That's the right way to finish that sentence. So he runs back to the car to try and go and take care of this anyway. He gets a call from Wendy. I'm sorry, not he gets a call from Wendy. He gets his gun. Raylan gets a call from Wendy.
I was about to be like, did I miss something? Okay, gotcha.
And she lets them know what his plan was just to get to the marina and head into international waters.
Right. And this fucking Joker.
Yeah. They find him at the marina in like an inflatable motorboat that won't start.
It won't start, and then Raylan does a little repeat of his Dewey scene and just shoots a couple of holes in it, and it's just kind of sad.
Yep.
And it just kind of, oh my God. It's just like, there's something so undignified about it, because this guy has been kind of, while he has been working with a total idiot, he still feels like a bit of a badass who just happens to have gotten a shit gig.
Yeah, and he looks dangerous. He looks like somebody that you should have, not respect for necessarily, but somebody who you should be considering.
You should have some caution around them.
Yes, yeah. And to have him in the middle of the marina in a slowly sinking rowboat.
The way he just like looks down at it, there's something about like how he's almost like doesn't think that it's gonna sink. Like he's like, no, it wouldn't do that, would it? Yep, because my man physics. So,
but yeah, undignified was exactly the right word for that. Yeah,
almost felt bad for him for a second.
Yeah, well, he's out of options, and so he pulls on Raylan and Sutter, and they take him down very quickly.
Yeah, because Raylan's like, you've got two choices: you can swim to Cuba, or you can let us take you in. And he's like, how about the third choice? And I'm like, why you guys always have to do this? There's a reason he only gave you two. Because that third choice isn't much of a choice. But all right, if you want to be all badass.
And I did go back and check, and that is the 16th person that Raylan has shot and killed.
Well, damn.
Since the start of the series.
Thankfully, it was not just him pulling the trigger on that one.
Also true, yeah. Raylan could have totally missed. It could totally be on David Koechner.
What, like, how many shots because I feel like they both, like, unloaded into this guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they definitely did. Yeah, he got shot 10 times or more.
Yeah, that was intense. I really appreciated that they're both going after him, though. Like, it was, we are 100% on the same page here, man, Which, whether or not it was the right call, which I think it obviously was, but even if it wasn't, to just know that somebody else was right by your side about to do the exact same shit, that's very comforting,
Yeah, this isn't Raylan being reckless. He's at least one other person who thought exactly the same way.
Yep.
So the next morning, Raylan meets Daryl to let him know that he is off parole. They held up their end of the bargain, and they talked to the judge this morning. Daryl's a free man.
Yay! I guess.
And I guess. And he learns that Wendy has fled to Miami, and it is strongly implied that Dilly is inside of the alligator.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed that a little bit.
Yeah.
That alligator's sitting there looking real satisfied and sedate. And he tells some story to Raylan about like his dad on his deathbed.
Yeah.
And Raylan's just like, I wondered why he was smirking in the middle of this story. And I thought it was just because this guy's trying to be all profound and it just doesn't suit him. But then it turns out that Raylan knows how this guy died, and that was not how it happened. And not only does he know how it happened, but he knows because this dude told him himself. Which, like, come on, man, get it together.
Yeah, it's pretty much a scene that's meant to tell you, don't feel bad for Daryl.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So they part ways, and Raylan gets back in the truck with Sutter, and Sutter offers to drop him off by West Palm so he can see Winona and the baby.
Aww.
And Raylan declines. He says, no, I haven't showered, so no, I'm good. And
he's a mess.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a mess. Now, after Raylan leaves, Daryl talks to Jean-Baptiste.
Mm-hmm.
And Daryl tells him, Florida's tapped out for the Crows. I don't know what, there's nothing left for us here. And Jean-Baptiste asked him, hey, do you have a cousin in Kentucky?
Dun, dun, dun!
Yeah.
Well, all right.
So.
Yeah, it's kind of like this show did the thing that I was kind of complaining about last season that I'm glad didn't happen last season, which is just bringing in like another crime family for us to deal with.
Uh-huh.
But they did it in such a way that I don't feel as like it doesn't feel so predictable as it has in the past. It's a little bit, but mostly I'm all right with it because they have connections to a character who is at the very least amusing as hell because he's just the worst. And also there is a weird history that we already know, which, is something that had been kind of missing. I think introducing them on their own turf somewhere else and then like relocating them, that is, I think, way more effective way to get this whole thing rolling than to be like, oh no, they've been here, but we just didn't talk about them before, even though apparently everybody in town knows who they are and respects them and whatever, which is just not something I had been able to get on board with. And I suspended my disbelief, but I did it grudgingly. And I think this is just much more effective and believable. And the fact that, Raylan had a hand in, I don't even want to say like he caused them to have to relocate because that was his brother that did that. But that Raylan was involved in what's bringing them to Kentucky. I like that also. So this feels neat and tidy.
Nope, I agree. I think it's a good setup, and it is a good way to introduce another crime family, but they don't have to be all mired down in Kentucky. We don't have to explain how there's a new part of Kentucky that they're, working in. Like, no, these people are from out of town. There's a reason that they're here, but they are a different breed. They're just as scummy. They're just as unwashed. They're just as dangerous.
Literally. This guy looks like he gets sprayed with like olive oil before he starts every scene. He's just so like grimy looking. Yeah. Black.
But I think it's a little similar to when Quarles showed up in season 3, and it was refreshing. I mean, the actor was just acting the hell out of him, but I think it also helped that like he just represented something different, something foreign showing up in this town.
Yeah, definitely.
So, now we have a quick scene with Boyd, and this is where we learn he's sitting there drinking and looking miserable. And he gets a phone call and then looks even more miserable. And he explains to Jimmy and to Carl that he told Ava if Judge Bishop got the case that he would have to threaten the man's family. Except man doesn't have a family.
Yep. That was a fun little twist.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, why is he so bummed? I couldn't think what it could be because I thought it was going to be some sort of like, well, my hands are tied though because he helped me out of a rough jam one time, but then he had said that he's as honest as they come. So I just was like, well, what is the problem? Oh, he just doesn't have a family, which completely caught me off guard. I just loved that. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem for sure.
I lied. Now we got our final Raylan scene, which is something that the episode's been hinting at the whole time. He's on a Skype call with Winona and the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out their baby's a genius. And it turns out that Raylan not only doesn't let her know that he was just in Miami, it doesn't really sound like he's been there for much of anything so far.
Yeah. And on the one hand, you could just be like, oh, okay, so he's just afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say that, it sounds like emotionally afraid. But honestly, after everything that has happened, I cannot help but think that this is for the best. Like, stay out of their lives as much as possible. Good call, buddy. Really. I just don't... I feel like Winona had the right idea the first time. When she was just trying to get away from him, And while I understand that they have a child and that it isn't like they don't have affection for each other, so it's not as easy to just cut it off. He is just a fucking menace. And whether it's intentional or not is really irrelevant. Like, it's, you know, he just conducted some business in Miami, so you can be as far away as you want, but that shit could still follow you. You know, it's just moving away is not going to make you safe. Staying away from him is going to make you safe. And you could say that he doesn't want to see the baby and doesn't want to go in person because it's, again, him like being afraid of being vulnerable and getting attached or being worried that he won't want to leave. But also maybe you just don't want somebody who's potentially following you in Miami to see where your wife and child live, or ex-wife and child. So, you know, I'm kind like, I don't think that is actually his motivation, but that is what I think his motivation should be. And in the end, they both accomplish the same thing. So fine, you know, sure. I think that's smart.
No, that's entirely reasonable. That's entirely reasonable. And Raylan is the enemy of peace and quiet.
You know, like, yeah, if this thing hadn't gone the way that it gone, which is to say the dude held up his end of the bargain and they got it all figured out and whatnot, who knows what could have happened? And if anything, I could see him being like mad at Art when he finds out that he's going there because of the fact that it's in the same town. Like, Art's like acting like this is supposed to be a plus, and Raylan's just like, are you kidding me? No, that's the opposite of what I want. I want to be as far away from them as I possibly can. And I would just totally understand that. So, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So our final scene is Boyd paying a visit to Lee Paxton.
Yo.
And his Latvian wife, Mara. And this is Boyd. This is him as desperate as we've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, he wants to meet this. And this is the guy who got his wife, got Ava arrested.
Mm-hmm.
But he still goes and, yeah, and he begs.
I thought he was going there to I don't know what. What exactly is his goal here? Why does he think that this guy's going to be able to help him? That he'll talk to the judge?
Because Paxton has all the connections and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Boyd is he's looking for mercy. He's looking for this guy to call in the people that he knows to, you know, to get Ava's information, you know, to get everything moved around so Ava can get out or get an easier trial, or he is looking to do whatever this guy wants him to do.
Mm-hmm.
To get Ava safe.
Right.
You know, I think I don't know if Boyd actually expresses a specific thing he needs Paxton to do, other than he knows Paxton is the guy who gets stuff done.
Right. Okay. That's fair then. He's basically at the end of his rope and going to the one man that he shouldn't ever have to set eyes on again. Never mind ask for a favor.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Very much so. Very much so. Oh, you know what? And he is good friends with Judge Bishop. Just saw that come up in the dialogue.
All right.
And, yeah, Boyd can offer him $300,000 if he will, you know,
mm-hmm.
help.
Take care of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I should also mention, Paxton mentions, he says, talking about his new hot wife, he also says some not super gross things about his late wife, but he does make mention that she's resting very comfortably in one of those extremely expensive coffins while I have my new hot European wife. And I hope when I die, I'm banging her from behind.
Right.
All in the same conversation.
Yeah. Charmed. Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful human being.
It's it's so funny too. Like I've been following, like, cause you know, I am a chubby girl. And so to kind of improve my self-image and my body image and self-esteem, I have been following a lot more like body positive Instagram pages and Facebook pages and whatnot. Okay. And it has taken hold to such a degree that this woman that they keep talking about as being the one that he wants to bang from behind, I'm going, wait, why would you want to bang her from behind? There's nothing there, which is not a necessarily kind thing. And it's not even necessarily true, but I'm just like, it's really something how much like conditioning works on you, because I wanted to look like this woman probably about a decade ago. And now I would stick with my body before I took her body, which is an enormous step for me. But it really, like, I have to credit being inundated with images of women who are more of an average size for really turning my brain around. Because this is just it's hard to explain what a huge deal that is for me mentally. And she's not, it's like, she's a gorgeous woman. Don't get me wrong. You know, sure. It's just, she's not somebody who's packing a lot of booty. So that sentiment just kind of like was jarring for me for a minute. And I was like, wait, what? And then I had to be like, well, she's a fucking supermodel, Natasha. It's fine. It's like, okay.
Well, you know, what's funny on that note, you've seen, I assume by now, like the promo picture for the Defenders.
Yes.
And they have, you know, they have Matt Murdock and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Danny Rand. And the three guys are facing the camera, and Jessica Jones is doing the traditional female superhero thing of like 3/4 away from the camera so you can see her butt.
Right.
And now Kristen Ritter is gorgeous, but she's not packing a lot there. It's, you know, all due respect to her. It just seems like the oddest choice in the world for me.
That you're like, why did you guys bother? Like, pick something else, right?
Yeah, so it's not that she's not beautiful, but that's also not the point, is that she's a friggin' badass. But yeah, it's just also not her best feature.
I think that was the thing that, like, because they could have chosen any way of him saying this. Like, hopefully she has my dick in her mouth, or she's riding me like a cowgirl or something. But he says specifically from behind, which I'm kind of like, I guess. Sure. Like, sorry guys, I did not mean to fixate on this extremely unappealing image for as long as I have. But I count it as a minor victory for myself that my brain has clearly started to be reset to have a more realistic expectation of what women look like, and makes me feel it gives me a little bit of hope that that's actually possible, because sometimes I don't think that I thought it was possible, that I was just gonna kind of always feel this way, and it's nice to know that that's not necessarily true. So, you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
anyway,
awesome. Go you.
Yay! Go Facebook and Instagram. Appreciate it.
So now that we've fixated on Sam Anderson mid-coitus for a couple of minutes.
Oh, why did you have to say it like that? I hate the word coitus. Oh no. Okay, moving on.
I do too. But
indeed,
Boyd makes him this offer. Boyd makes Paxton this offer. Paxton makes him beg and then shoots him down anyway. And then he does make Boyd an offer that essentially, if Boyd agrees to take the fall for Ava, he will arrange it so Ava gets out and this whole thing disappears for her.
Mm-hmm.
And Boyd is completely silent.
What kills me here is that I really think if this had been presented by anybody else in a different tone, Boyd would consider it. I think that he misjudges him.
Okay.
But he's just so fucking belittling and condescending and elitist and disgusting that even if Boyd were inclined to do something like this because he cares about Ava, he is not inclined to do this because this fucking guy asked him. You know what I mean?
Fair. That's fair.
Like, it's kind of, and it, one could say, well, if he loves her enough, he'd do it no matter who asked him. Yeah, but no, though. Like, it's the kind of thing where I know that I should eat healthy and exercise. But if somebody gets really shitty telling me to eat healthy and exercise, I'm going to go have a sundae while I give them the finger. And maybe that's bad for me, and maybe I'm just shooting myself in the foot, but fuck that guy. And that's where I kind of came off on this when it happened. It's just that I think that this isn't out of the realm of possibility, because Boyd clearly does love Ava enough. I think that's clear anyway. It's just this guy has to be the one to ask him. This guy has to be the one to crow over him when he asks.
And I think you have to trust this person enough that they would actually follow through with that too.
Yeah, that's true also.
But no, I think you're right. But this is the second time in 2 episodes that a character has said to Boyd, I just don't believe that you love her.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
And yeah, and so Boyd, though, leaps into a rage and pistol whips this man into a crumpled bloody heap on the floor. Which is super satisfying.
It is the most satisfying. Honestly, this guy not having a weapon on him when he's talking to Boyd, like, again, with these people underestimating this guy, they really keep on doing this. And I appreciate that when his wife comes in, Boyd, says, I am not a violent man. Because it's sort of weird that, his line of work, yeah, though you are, but he has never been, passionate about it. He's not somebody who gets off on it. It's just something that he has to do sometimes. And that's obviously, he sees that as being very different. And I think he's right about that. Just the whole vibe behind it in this scene is not really something that we've ever seen from him before, ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, hella satisfying for real. I was so delighted because this guy is way too good at being a piece of shit. And he calls her his white trash fiance too.
Yeah.
So it can't just be, I didn't think you loved her, but it's also, I didn't think you loved her, and who would, is the subtext,
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So he is out of the picture. And Mara, Boyd really only stops because Mara shows up.
Yeah, that is true, huh? He would have kept beating that guy's head in for a while if he could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he gives her a choice. He says, we could have a double homicide, or I could pay you what I was going to pay him, and you can buy a big house for all your relatives in Latvia. And she stops and thinks and says, well, how much were you going to pay him? Boyd says $100,000 because, haha.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I'll tell them it was a burglar. So Boyd leaves, and then Mara rushes over to his side, and she tells Paxton she'll take care of him.
Oh, man. I loved it. I really hope he is dead. I think he is. If it turns out he's not, then he better at least be a vegetable.
He is a resilient old man if he is still alive.
That is a rough beating that he takes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Love. And yeah, and that's our episode. We have we've got all of our new things set up in this episode. A lot of that old business kind of washed away.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because it really was. I mean, a lot of that other stuff, as much as it was fun, more Detroit mobster tone-in stuff, more, now that Boyd has sort of infiltrated the power elite and he got one over on them and then they got it back over on him. It really was a lot of tangled web of plot.
Yeah, that's true. And how much can you do now that isn't going to be something you've done already?
Yeah, so I think it was a smart move for the series to just sort of say, you know what, we are tying off these loose ends, more or less. It's not like they're on, but we are moving past this by shooting people in the head a couple of different times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. It just feels like I got some real shocks and moments where I'm just like, oh my God. And I got a real satisfying one where he had it fucking coming and he only had himself to blame. You should have heard him. You should have seen it. And then we have things that are being like set up that feel much more deliberate. They just don't feel as lazy as they have felt a few other times. It feels like they're putting in more effort to make this feel justified. See what I did? I said the name of the show.
Yeah, I'm going to have a bicycle horn on that soundboard once it's done. So whenever we say the title of the show.
I like it.
Yeah.
Or we could have like one of those reggaeton. Which would be kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's what we need. That's what Unspoiled has been missing. More air horns.
Oh my God. I totally have an air horn app on my phone, and I did use it on my Luke Cage podcast more than once. So
I forgot about that.
So yeah, guys, if you want to hear me yelling about a show that starts to make no sense and use a lot of air horn, become a patron and listen to Luke Cage, because yeah, that is there in abundance. Yeah, all right. Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of the episode. Damn, this is a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, I'm going to say hi to new patrons then, and we only have a few this week. So we have Robert Lanning, which I'm not sure if he signed up this month or not, but Robert Lanning, what's up? How you doing? If you've been a patron for a little while, my apologies, but your name popped up at the top of the list and sometimes it's hard to tell. Jessica Goddard, Lucifer, and Illy. And I think it's Illy, but you know how like a capital I and a lowercase L look like the same letter?
Right.
It's 3 vertical lines in a row and then a Y.
It could be Lily.
Maybe if she just capitalized the I, but it seems more likely that it's capital I with 2 L's than lowercase l, capital I, lowercase l, lowercase y, right?
Yeah, or it could be 30. It could be a Roman numeral.
And they put a Y at the end. Oh, that would be funny. Well, anyway, welcome to all of you delightful people. And thank you for becoming patrons. And don't forget to register on unspoiledpodcast.com to get access to things like the Luke Cage podcast. And yeah, and make sure to join us on the Facebook page, the Facebook group for Unspoiled patrons. And I feel like there was something I was going to add here. Oh, I know what it was. That I had said, and I don't know if I said it last week on ours, but I have said on other podcasts that Girl with All the Gifts is going to be the book for the book club in May. I am wrong. Chris Tex Holcomb said that to me while we were recording. I didn't double check it because I thought he had looked, but he just like picked that out of thin air, and that's actually not for like 4 more months. So the next book that's coming up for the May book club, which will be on May 6th, a Saturday at 7 p.m. live. And I'm really excited because Crowdcast has a functionality now where I can broadcast from Crowdcast to Facebook Live. So that'll be new.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm stoked about trying that out. But that is going to be open to everybody. It is not just patrons, and the book is going to be The Kite Runner. So that's going to be coming up, and it's a longer book than the others have been. So if you have not read it yet, I'm trying to tell people early so that they can get it in.
Yeah, it's good. I like The Kite Runner.
Yeah, I've heard very good things. I've heard it's a little heavy.
A little bit.
But, you know, we just had Ready Player One, so I'm ready for something heavy at this point now. I think. I shouldn't really be saying that, should I? But there it is. So yeah, that's everything. Sir, would you like to add something?
No, nothing new. My Twitter at Al Kingsley, and my presence, as always, in the Unspoiled Clubhouse. That's it.
All right, cool. Well, thank you again, everybody, so much for listening. Really appreciate it. And thank you again to all of you patrons out there. Love you so much. And we will see you next week with a new episode
Bye, everyone.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at your boy. You try to go, God, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some?
I see them long, hard times to come.
My life is ill, son, prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, is real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying to value you, but if you're feeling tough, dog, I walk up all challenges. Ain't got no family, you see this one of these.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.